Chapter 17. Thou shalt not sacrifice unto the Lord thy God any bullock or sheep wherein is blemish, or any evil favoredness, for that is an abomination unto the Lord thy God. If there be found among you within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, man or woman, that hath wrought wickedness in the sight of the Lord thy God, in transgressing his covenant, and hath gone and served other gods, and worshipped them, either the sun or moon, or any of the host of heaven, which I have not commanded, and it be told thee, and thou hast heard it, and inquired diligently, and behold, it be true, and the thing certain, that such an abomination is wrought in Israel, then shalt thou bring forth that man or that woman which have committed that wicked thing unto thy gates, even that man or that woman, and shalt stone them with stones till they die. At the mouth of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death, but at the mouth of 1 witness he shall not be put to death. The hands of the witnesses shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterward the hands of all the people. So thou shalt put the evil away from among you. If there arise a matter too hard for thee in judgment, between blood and blood, between plea and plea, and between stroke and stroke, being matters of controversy within thy gates, then shalt thou arise and get thee up into the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. And thou shalt come unto the priests the Levites, and unto the judge that shall be in those days, and inquire, and they shall shew thee the sentence of judgment. And thou shalt do according to the sentence which they of that place which the Lord shall choose shall shew thee. And thou shalt observe to do according to all that they inform thee, according to the sentence of the law which they shall teach thee, and according to the judgment which they shall tell thee, thou shalt do. Thou shalt not decline from the sentence which they shall shew thee, to the right hand nor to the left. And the man that will do presumptuously, and will not hearken unto the priest that standeth to minister there before the Lord thy God, or unto the judge, even that man shall die. And thou shalt put away the evil from Israel. And all the people shall hear and fear, and do no more presumptuously. And when thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shalt possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shalt say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses. For as much as the Lord hath said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. And it shall be, when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book, out of that which is before the priests and Levites, and it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, to keep all the words of this law and these statutes to do them, that his heart be not lifted up above his brethren, and that he turn not aside from the commandment to the right hand or to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his children in the midst of Israel. There are 2 major items, I think, in this chapter. One that starts around verse 2 and then carries on to the very end, and one that is partway through. And the one that starts in verse 2 is if they find somebody who's guilty of idolatry. What do they do? And the law is that here, it's clearly stated, that if you find somebody who has been guilty of idolatry and serving false gods, that crime is, you got to understand, in a religion, in an entire civilization, in a country where everything is based on, their survival is based on belief in God, trust in God, faith in God, obedience to God. Worshipping false gods is the equivalent of high treason and the equivalent of pouring poison into the water supply, spiritual water supply, for the entire population of the entire country. It is no less hazardous to the people who are there. Anybody that partakes of it dies. And this has to be dealt with as though the person was deliberately trying to do this, because the Lord knew just how contaminating these kinds of religions were and their practices were. He had watched them destroy country after country, nation after nation, in this same spot for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and witnessed thousands and thousands and thousands of his children sacrificed in fires to these false gods. And for somebody else to say, hey, it sounds like a good idea to us, just had to be dealt with right now. And basically the law was that if there were 2 or more witnesses, they had to take the person to the priests. The priests and judges had to make the decision. They couldn't make it on the basis of just one person's accusation, and those people who were the accusers had to be part of the stoning, and the entire community had to do this. And one of the reasons they did this was so that everybody would know, you do not mess around with the Lord your God. With all that he has done, all that he stands ready to do, all that he can do, and all that will be lost if we turn away from him, we cannot afford to tolerate this kind of gross arrogance, ignorance, perversion, stupidity in our midst. That was it. Now, the other interesting thing about this chapter is that these people have not even crossed over Jordan yet. They are not in the promised land. Gad and Reuben and half of Manasseh have got their reward, but that's on the other side of Jordan, on the east side of Jordan. And they haven't crossed over Jordan yet. They're not even in there. And Heavenly Father, the Lord, is talking about when you choose a king. Now the neat part is that doesn't happen for at least 200 years. Now you think the Lord knows stuff that's coming? You think he can see far ahead? You think he doesn't know what could happen in your life? You think he doesn't know the kind of stuff that you could do, should do, might do, would do, want to do? He does. If he knows 200 years down the road that these people are going to be looking for a king, and he starts in this chapter to tell them all the conditions of having a king, what makes you think he can't do the same thing for you? And if you're obedient, if you're willing to be humble and serve him and be open to inspiration, to pray to him regularly, to do the things that you should do, wouldn't you like to have somebody who can say to you, you need to do this now? In 50 years, 100 years, 200 years down the road, amazing things can happen to your children. You know, Jacob, Israel, went into Egypt. There were a total of 70 members of his family. 400 years later, out come 2 million. They went through a lot, but there weren't too many other circumstances where they could. They certainly couldn't have grown to that big in the promised land. They would have been wiped out by the crudity and the perversions of the religions that were there. It was amazing. So he lists off the things that they need to be a king. He needs to be somebody of their own. It has to be Jewish. Can't multiply horses, and that means doesn't build up cavalry in a big army. Doesn't multiply wives, especially not wives from other countries, because they will take his heart away from serving God. Lists all of those things that are there. There's really good reasons for each one of those things. Basically, if you're going to have a king, what you want is let him who is the most, the mightiest among you be the servant of all, as opposed to thinking he's the great grand poobah and worthy of everything. I remember seeing things about the Shah of Iran, for instance, having a plane that had gold toilet. Excuse me, guys, porcelain will do just as well for the same job. You don't need a gold toilet. No matter who you are, how much money you got, gold toilet is no better than any other kind of toilet. Just because you've got the wealth, got the power, doesn't give you the right to do it. And it would be really great if all the leaders around the face of the world would understand that they're there as servants, not bosses. They're there to serve, not take. And in our own families, to have that same thing. We're there to serve, not take. That would be a really great thing to keep in mind every single day of our lives. And that's what Moses and the Lord are telling the children of Israel here. You want a king, you want to find a king who gives, not takes.